What is the feature-length podcast? Anyone?
The feature-length podcast is a show where three idiots talk about film and entertainment.
Good answer.
Hey guys, what's up?
Hey, are you talking to us?
Yeah. I'm talking to the voices in my head.
Like, I truly don't know. It felt like a fever dream. I swear to God, I could not
It sounds so
make this shit up.
stupid hearing that.
If you're listening to this is a podcast.
Welcome back to the feature-length podcast.
Welcome back to the feature-length podcast.
Welcome back to the feature-length podcast, a podcast where we talk about movies and TV for a feature length of time.
Hey guys, Marco and Dan here. We're just recording a little quick bonus episode because the trailer for the Uncharted movie dropped a couple days ago, starring Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg. And we're just going to talk about it real briefly because I have a history with the Uncharted games. I've played the whole series multiple times. Marco has never played the games. We've talked about it a little bit, but other than that, he's sort of a newcomer to the series. We're just going to give a quick, brief description of what we think of the trailer. Why don't you go first, being someone who's never played the games?
Yes.
What do you think of it as a movie?
So, first let me clarify, I have never played the games, not out of lack of interest. I've just always been a Xbox and or PC player. I've never had a PlayStation, and they are PlayStation exclusives, so I've never played them. But I am aware that they're basically just Indiana Jones movies. They're just adventure stories. And I am aware of what the characters look like. So when I saw this trailer, I was, I guess you could say, a little shocked because they look more like National Treasure movies than Indiana Jones. And no shit talking on National Treasure. Those movies are classics, but
At least the first one.
yeah, there's a level of, like, I think iconic sort of timeless adventure that the Indiana Jones series has. It's a little bit smarter, I think, as opposed to, like, silly. And I always got the vibe that that's what Uncharted was supposed to be, and this trailer looks very silly. And it also, again, not knowing a lot about the games, and you can speak to this more, Dan, but it looks like we're probably never going to get to make another Uncharted movie, so let's just put everything people know from Uncharted in one movie, which is always a terrible idea because it never works. See every other video game movie ever created for why that's the case. And the casting's awful because Tom Holland is, I understand he's like 28 years old now or whatever, but he looks like a pre-pubescent child still. I mean, he still plays a fucking teenager, so weird casting as Nathan Drake. And
Very weird.
Mark Wahlberg doesn't even have a mustache, so I don't know why he's playing Sully.
Yeah. So real quick, I'll just say I've been playing the Uncharted games for like about 5 years now. I was pretty late into it. Like, it was well after the final game had come out before I'd even touched it, because I got a PS4, but before that I had been an Xbox person. I kind of transferred over during that generation change. So I got, my PS4 came free with Uncharted 4, which I couldn't believe. It was still an $80 game at the time. That was a value. And I decided I want to get into this series because I've heard nothing but good things. And I've also heard it's like modern Indiana Jones. Mm-hmm. So before I even touched Uncharted 4, I bought the Nathan Drake collection, which is a remastered trilogy of the original 3. Played all through those first and then started 4. And now I've played through the entire series, like, I want to say at least like 6 or maybe 5 or 6 times. All 4 games in order. And that's not even including like the couple times I've played just one of the games, like, just sort of on its own. So I love the series. I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. The 4th game is one of my favorite games of all time, I think. And then I saw this trailer. And so, okay, this movie is going to be directed by the director of Venom, the first Venom.
How did I forget to mention that? Yeah.
Which does not bode well for anything at all. I was holding it, before this trailer ever dropped, I was holding out hope that maybe an Uncharted movie would be finally a video game movie that could translate well to the screen. And I still think that is possible, but not the movie that we're going to get. Yeah. Especially not under the direction of Ruben Fleischer or whatever the fuck his name is.
Yeah.
Director of Venom.
Cannot be stated enough.
No.
Director
he
of
also
Venom.
directed Zombieland, which is like...
I've never seen them.
Zombieland is fine, but it's like, I don't know why the director of Zombieland would have seemed like a fit for an Uncharted movie.
Yeah.
Like, not even related at all. But anyway, I think the biggest problem with this, as we talked about, is the casting, because Tom Holland looks like a 14-year-old, and he's basically playing Peter Parker in this movie.
Yeah.
Just Peter Parker, which is fine if he's playing Peter Parker, not if he's playing Nathan Drake, because Nathan Drake is supposed to be a reckless man-child and also like mid-30s.
Yeah.
And Sully's supposed to be middle-aged. Like, even if he didn't have a mustache, it wouldn't bother me.
No, I know,
If they
yeah.
had cast a better actor than Mark Wahlberg.
It's so weird, right?
And, like, even if you look in the comments on YouTube, like, in the trailer video, a lot of people are saying, not that Mark Wahlberg would have been good, but he looks more like Nathan Drake than Tom Holland does.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want him as Nathan Drake either, but just comparing the two. But another big problem that this trailer... maybe it's going to be in the movie, but she wasn't in the trailer, is there was no Elena Fisher. Anyone who's played the games knows that she is essential. Elena is the main love interest of Drake, and the whole series is basically, like, it's an adventure story, but it's really the love story between them set against the backdrop of an Indiana Jones type story. It's all about developing their relationship. So the fact that we haven't even seen her yet does not bode well, and leads me to think it's just going to be a generic adventure movie.
Yeah.
So, very disappointing. We've had a slew of horrible video game movies in the past, but this one hit home more than any to me, because I actually have a backstory with the game series. And I've always... Okay, we'll also talk about the fact that if you've seen the trailer and have played the games, you'll know they're literally just trying to cram the stories of all 4 games into one movie, which is a absolutely horrible idea. And also, as you alluded to, that leads us to think they probably have no faith they're ever going to get another movie.
Oh, sure.
Which they shouldn't, but that's what's causing them to have the origin, the final story, and also, like, the... Okay, sorry to... Okay, I know I'm interrupting myself, but also...
I know, I get it.
Man. I stand by Tom Holland would have been a perfect casting for young Nathan Drake, because in the 3rd game, there's a segment of flashback game, and young Nathan Drake looks almost identical to Tom Holland.
Oh, okay.
So when I heard that Tom Holland was being casted for this, I was 99% sure that was going to be the case. It would turn out that he was just playing a flashback of him.
Gotcha.
And we would later find out there was going to be an adult Nathan Drake who we haven't heard about yet. And so to find out that the entire movie is just going to be Tom Holland playing apparently adult Nathan Drake, or even a young Nathan Drake but taking the place of the main Nathan Drake in these adventures, like, that we see him go on in the games, it's just going to be this young, naive Tom Holland Nathan Drake. So it's very, very disappointing that we're not going to get quintessential Drake. And even besides that, as we've talked about, like, even with no knowledge of the games, it just looks like a very generic adventure movie. It looks like very cheaply made. And
it just doesn't look like... There's nothing about this trailer that as someone that's not a fan, I would go, like, I want to watch that. Like, I think... And, you know, with most franchises, they do a good job of selling... Like, if you, for example, are not a fan of, whatever, Star Wars, necessarily, but you watch a lot of the modern Star Wars trailers, like, I feel like you could be compelled to watch that. Or with Dune, if you didn't have knowledge. Or Batman. Not that anyone doesn't have knowledge of Batman anymore. Like, everyone knows. But, like, if you didn't and you watched the trailers for the Batman, you'd be like, this looks like a fucking rad movie. This just looks like a cheaply made piece of shit, and it's directed by the director of Venom, and it's coming out in February, which, as we've talked about, you and I, like, movie studios generally release movies they know are kind of flops in January and February. Deadpool notwithstanding, that was a Valentine's Day movie, but they generally do that because that's the time of year when you expect the most loss anyway, I guess. So they kind of put those movies out then, rather than putting them out in the middle of summer, when it, like, another movie you could put out in the middle of summer that would make money, if that makes sense. So it's like, put the piece of shit in the area where it won't make money regardless, so it doesn't matter that it's losing money. So yeah, I mean, none of this stuff bodes well. And for me, like, obviously I have no emotional tie to this, so I'm just kind of like, this looks stupid. But your reaction to it reminds me so much of when I was seeing the trailers and, like, the lead up to Assassin's Creed, because similar to you, like, I'm such a fan of the Assassin's Creed games. Obviously there's so many of them now, but in particular I would say maybe, like, the first 5 or 6, like, I really played religiously. And that movie, similar to this, not that it, like, see, this one's even worse because it's taking the actual story elements and cramming them all into one game. With Assassin's Creed, it wasn't like they specifically adapted like all 6 games, but it was like they took everything that you would know about Assassin's Creed by like reading a Wikipedia article and made that a movie. But like fundamentally, like no one involved had ever played an Assassin's Creed game or like understood what made Assassin's Creed cool. And so it was just kind of like generic evil company puts you in machine and you relive memories and also get powers in modern day. And it was just like this dumb idiot schlock movie. And yeah, I mean, this, like I said, it doesn't look like a sophisticated action adventure movie. It looks kind of dumb, and I don't know. I mean, that's unfortunate.
Like a Disney adventure movie.
It looks like if I was like scrolling through Disney Plus, like I would see this movie and it would be like some dumb movie.
Actually, you know what it reminds me of is the Journey to the Center of the Earth movie.
Yes. Oh, that's the better. I said National Treasure, but like that's the better comparison. Is Journey to the Center of the Earth. Like
especially the second one.
Yeah,
it's The Rock.
It's dumb schlock.
Yeah.
Is all it is, and it's so not fitting, and it's like it's just so unfortunate because now, like, I understand back in the day when it was like they made the Super Mario Brothers movie, like that was never gonna be good, and like they're making a new one now, which is also not gonna be good because fucking Chris Pratt is playing Mario, which like I was listening to a podcast from you and I talking about this, which it's not racist, but how they said it is that it's racist adjacent. Because, like, it's still weird to have, like, American white guy Chris Pratt doing, like, an Italian accent. But it's not, like, racist, but it's just kind of, like, why? But, like, anyway, my point being, like, I understand when you're adapting those silly platformer-style games, like, what's the hope that those will end up well? But now we're at a point where it's like you've squandered Assassin's Creed, you've squandered Uncharted, it looks like. You've squandered World of Warcraft. Like, these games that have, like, stories and worlds and universes and could be franchises, and you've, like, rushed through them and made really shitty adaptations. And what are you left with? Like, what are you going to do? Like, the only other thing that gives me a little bit of hope is that I know they're making a TV series for The Last of Us.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and that, too, actually, that is kind of hopeful because the director of the games is going to be directly involved.
Yes.
So I actually am holding out hope for it, although with that one, I don't think it's very necessary. Like, I don't know why. I know why they're doing it. I don't think they should be doing it.
I agree with you.
But I think at least it actually has a chance of maybe being the first, like, actual good video game adaptation.
Yeah. But with stuff, something like this or something like Assassin's Creed that's so ripe to be a movie, like...
It sucks because for years everyone's been saying, like, we'll never get a good video game movie. But it's more like you've had so many chances to make an actual good video game movie. It's just that creators you've picked to be involved suck,
and that's what
they don't know what the material they're working with.
Yeah, that's the problem. And it reminds me a lot of, in a way, sort of the early days of comic book movies, where it's sort of like, we're ashamed of this. We're not going to have people that have worked on comic books work on it. We're just going to hire people in the movie industry to, like, approximate what we think this should be. And then the closer you get to now modern day, where it's like comic book creators are revered and you are, like, using that as closer source material, as opposed to, like, back in the day when it was like, I know what Superman is, I know what Batman is.
Yeah.
But now it's like we're really, like, paying attention to that. And I hope video game movies go through that change as well.
There's no reason it shouldn't.
There's no reason it shouldn't. But I think,
especially story-driven games.
100%. And I think what we're seeing right now is just, like, the toddler years.
Yeah.
Of, like, the studios being like, well, we can't let video game people actually help make video game movies, so we're going to take control and do what studios do, which is ruin everything. And I think once, all it's going to take is one hit. And that's what I feel so bad about, because I'm not a huge gamer, but, like, I'm gaming adjacent. Like, I'm somewhat, like, I play some games and I'm, like, aware of gaming content. And what makes me feel so sad is just that, like, if Assassin's Creed had hit, like, I think they would have made a good Uncharted movie. Because they would have just let people that know what they're talking about make the movie. But because Assassin's Creed is bad, it's like, well, we have to be more involved. But it's like, why is Assassin's Creed bad? It's because the one before it was bad. So it's like, eventually, like, maybe as much as The Last of Us probably doesn't need to be made into a TV series,
it might be necessary to be the first good thing to then inspire other better things.
Yeah, once that's good, because hopefully will be, and, like, critically acclaimed and whatever, then studios might be a little bit more lenient in terms of, like, letting good video game movies be made. Hopefully.
Because now, like, we have comic book movies nominated for Oscars.
Yeah.
Like, that was not a thing when they were first starting out. They were just cheap. It was like a novelty.
Yeah. So yeah, I really hope that's the case. And then I just hope, I mean, there'll always be new franchises, but it's just sad to see such great franchises be squandered. But I guess there's always the potential 10 years from now to make like a good Assassin's Creed if like video game movies pick up and take off.
I hope there's another shot at an Uncharted movie.
Me too.
Even if like I'd be fine with not even adapting a particular game, just write a new story.
Yeah.
As if you're writing a game, but write it into a movie instead.
Yeah, as a movie. Yeah.
So anyway, it's just a real quick episode on our thoughts on Ruben Fleischer's Uncharted. I hate saying that.
I know.
Thanks for listening.